the meeting to order, beginning with the determination of the quorum. Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Chairman, we have 6 present and 1 absent, so we do have a quorum.
Right, next, we'll rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for being here this evening. We do have a pretty full agenda, but we should be able to work our way through it with not too much trouble. First item, the approval of the agenda. A few notes to make about that. Under item 10, other matters, a few issues need to be thought of before we approve the agenda. Items F, G, H, and I, I'm going to suggest are all removed from the agenda for a few different reasons, so let me explain why those are. It turns out that F, G, and I are in the consent agenda, and so we would, by having them here and having them in the consent agenda, we would be duplicating, and so I'm going to suggest that we remove those items from the agenda here, so we don't duplicate. And then item H, is an item that the administration has asked us to wait on. They would like to look into that a little further and speak to staff about it a little bit more, so they would prefer that we table that or not take action on it this evening. So I'm going to suggest that we just not have that on the agenda. So I would suggest approving the agenda as presented, with the exceptions with removing F, G, H, and I. And I'll entertain a motion to that effect at this time.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on that?
I'd like to add item 10, something, whatever letter to, for not, and for action is to, on the construction project, to put up to vote other people in November.
Okay. Is there a second for that motion? I'm sorry, it would be an amendment, so I think you'd have to make that as an amendment.
Amendment.
The original motion. Is there a second for that amendment?
Can I have a point of information?
Sure.
It is my understanding that should we decide to proceed with the administrative building, that there is no basis in law for us to put that to a public vote. Is my understanding, am I stating the question clearly enough?
Yeah, you have as a school board, you have the discretion of putting it to the vote or not putting it to the vote.
Okay, so it is something we could do. Okay,
But it's not required.
okay. Thank you.
We have a motion to amend the agenda. Is there a second?
Can I get what the motion?
The motion was to add an agenda item, we'll call it 10 HIJK, which would raise the question of bringing this, the question of the construction to the voters. Is there a second for the amendment to the motion? Hearing none, the amendment fails. We're back to the original motion, which is to approve the agenda as shown, with the elimination of items F, G, H, and I. Any further discussion on those? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
No.
Mr. Clerk, could you please do a roll call?
I will vote yes. Tom Casper,
Aye.
Yvette Marthaler,
Aye.
Richard Olson,
No.
Jerry Robichaud, President Ingrid.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, we have 5 in favor and 1 against.
All right, thank you. Motion carries. And this brings us then, I'm going to also suggest when we get to, now that we've approved the agenda, not to make it more confusing, but we have a couple of the, for items G and I, which we removed from the amendment, from the agenda, but are in the consent agenda. Those persons are here this evening.
Well, one, Cindy's here, but I don't see Jennifer yet, so hopefully Jennifer will find her way here.
Well, perhaps just after we approve the consent agenda, we'll just
Introduce.
introduce them. I don't know that that needs to be removed. So, never mind. I was gonna suggest removing those from the consent agenda, but I think we can introduce them
Sure.
regardless of that, so we'll do that. Okay, recognition and awards, we have none this evening. And that brings us to community comment. Community comment is a time for any members of the Faribault community to come forward and address the board. There's a 3-minute limit per speaker and a 15-minute limit per topic. Are there any members of the community who would like to come forward at this time? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Consent agenda items are items that are approved in one motion, and there is no debate on consent agenda items. But any board member can request to remove an item for separate action from the consent agenda. Is there any request to do so at this time?
I'd like to remove or bring out the Diane Clapp retirement.
Okay, any others? All right, we'll proceed on the vote of the consent agenda then with the removal of Diane Clapp.
Did you want to take out the administrators too, that are in the consent?
No, I think we'll just leave them in the consent agenda and then you can introduce them.
Oh,
after
I
we
see.
approve the
Gotcha.
consent agenda.
All right.
All right. Okay, Mr. Clerk, would you please do a roll call on the consent agenda?
I will vote aye. Tom Casper,
Aye.
Yvette Marthaler,
Aye.
Richard Olson,
Aye.
Jerry Robichaud,
Aye.
and Chairman Ingrid.
Aye.
I
Mr.
hate-
Chair,
I hate to interrupt, but did we make a motion on that yet
We didn't have a motion.
for the consent agenda? Can we,
Let's back up.
can we back up a little bit, please? Sorry. I didn't want to interrupt your roll call, sorry.
It's important. It's important.
I'll move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Is there a second? We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda with the removal of the retirement of Diane Clapp. Mr. Clerk, would you now please entertain us with our,
I will vote aye. Tom Casper,
Aye.
Yvette Marthaler,
Aye.
Richard Olson,
Aye.
Jerry Robichaud.
Now, let me see.
Chair, I've already got you marked. President Ingrid.
aye.
Mr. Chairman, 6 in favor, none against.
Thank you all, my apologies for getting ahead of ourselves. Next up, actually, first, let's do some introductions here before we move on to the agenda.
Right, and I do see Cindy. Cindy is our new director at the CREC, the Cannon River Education Center. And Cindy Stark, I would like to welcome you to the school district. And if you guys have any questions or comments for Cindy, she's right there for you.
Thank you for approving me and letting me be part of the staff. I'm pretty excited to join Faribault Schools and just looking forward to continuing to do the work that was led by Lynn the last 2 years at CREC. And I think we're really on the same page and moving forward. I've got a great team with Cheryl at the helm to help support. And so I just look forward to getting faces and names put together and starting that school bell again in September, so, thanks.
Well, thank you, Cindy, and welcome to the Faribault Public Schools.
Thanks.
Appreciate having you on board. Okay, now we removed the retirement of Diane Clapp from the consent agenda, so now we need to take action on that item. Is there a motion to approve the retirement of Diane Clapp?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the retirement of Diane Clapp. Now would be an appropriate time for any comments.
I know Diane, and it's a tremendous loss to our district. I wish her well, that's all.
Excellent. Thank you, Richard. Any further comments? I'm sure the whole board echoes that.
Do you know Diane?
I do.
Okay.
I know both her and her husband.
Yours,
yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And they were both a tremendous asset to the district and dedicated to teaching kids, so it is, it's, people get to that retirement age and they make a decision and it's our loss, but their gain in their next journey of life.
Absolutely. And we thank Diane for all of her years of service to the
Absolutely.
district, absolutely. Anything else before we take the vote? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries and congratulations.
She would be able to retire, is
We've never tested that theory.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly what happens, but we are asked to do this, so we do. All right. Next up is the curriculum. There is no curriculum committee report this month. I'm assuming there was no meeting this month. Is that true? All right, so moving on to item 6B, curriculum, the technology update. We have a report. I'm assuming that's a Colleen report. Excellent.
I'd just like to give you a very quick update on technology. Technology is working on numerous summer projects. We're busy updating computers, getting iPads set up, preparing for all fall workshops, and as many have seen, getting the new website up and running. And that's the update on technology. Questions?
Excellent. Thank you very much, Colleen. I'd like to say that it's really exciting to get on the Faribault Schools website and to see Faribault students on the website, which is something I don't think we've seen before, if I'm not mistaken. So that's great to see. All right. Next on the agenda, policy. No report this month from the policy committee. We have a number of items, I think, for a second reading this evening. Two policies, policy 514, the bullying prohibition policy, and policy 407, the employer right to know exposure to hazardous substances policy. Let's start, we'll treat them individually, starting with policy 514. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this policy?
I guess I'm guessing that staff have had an opportunity to be trained on the new policy, or will be.
They will, yep, that'll be part of their staff training that first week of school.
This policy now complies with the recent legislation.
It does, it's the updated MSBA boilerplate policy, that's correct. Yep. I know you know. The attorneys have looked at it too.
Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next up is in policy 401.8, employee right to know, exposure to hazardous substances. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at rescissions here. I want to misstate that.
No, it's
Policy
all right.
407. Nope, that policy number was for rescission. So the policy number is 407, employee right to know, exposure to hazardous substances. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion on this item? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We now have old versions of these two policies, and so we need to rescind those. So we will be rescinding policy 514, bullying prohibition policy that was adopted on 12/15/2010, and policy 401.8, employee right to know, exposure to hazardous substances, which was adopted on 1/28/2008. I'm happy to entertain a motion to rescind both of these policies.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on this? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you all. We now move on to item 8, finance, a finance committee report. Do we have a finance committee report this evening?
Well, we met this morning, the minutes are attached, and we have several items coming up on the agenda to approve, with the tabling of one matter around the teacher evaluation, but otherwise we have several items to approve.
Excellent. Okay. Any questions for Colleen before we, Yvette? Oh, why did I call her Colleen? Just call me Colleen.
I would be
There's
honored.
too many Colleens in the room.
I couldn't pick that.
Excellent Colleens in the room, but Yvette is her own person. Any questions for Yvette before we move on? Hearing none, we'll move on to items 8B. These are items reviewed by the Finance Committee and are recommended for board approval. Beginning with item 8B1, the Faribault High School parking lot security agreement. Superintendent Sesker, do you want to say anything about that before we take action?
No, the rates are there, they're competitive rates, and it's a big value for us to have these folks on board with us, and we just recommend approval, just like the Finance Committee has, and I don't have the company in front of me. General Services, Security, and Securities, right? Twin Cities? Twin Cities Securities, right, same one. It's easier for me just to ask. Twin Cities Security.
Looking over this, it looks like I see some discussion that in the future we may need to think about going to a model using a district employee for this.
There was some discussion around that issue. We felt that hourly rate was very reasonable, and if we hired an employee, it would be a much higher hourly rate at this time. So as long as the bids continue to come in at an affordable rate, we would proceed with this process.
Okay. All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the Faribault High School parking lot security agreement. Any further discussion on this item? To clarify for those who might be watching, this approval will be with Twin Cities Security. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next up is our Project Able agreement with Northfield.
And again, this is an agreement that we share with Northfield, between Northfield and Faribault, for our adult basic learning programs. Cheryl can certainly answer any questions that you may have with regard to the program, but it's been a good program for us, especially here in Faribault.
I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next up, Kids World rate increase.
You can take a look at it. We've increased it. We're looking at increasing the dollar amount from this current year to next year, pretty minimally. Again, if you have questions with the Finance Committee members, or Anne Marie can answer some of those questions with regard to our school age care program.
Could Anne Marie come up?
Sure.
I mean, it was based on, I think, the idea that we're having raises for our staff, between 3% and 4%, and this rate increase would reflect that.
But then, you talk about certification because there's rate increase, but then I brought that up in finance, that you're gonna be receiving certification. What does that mean to the parents?
So what the process we're going through for Kids World is called accreditation, and it is through the Minnesota School Age Care Association. So we're attempting in October to be certified. We're seeking accreditation. We're not there yet, but they will do a site visit in October, and if they deem us appropriate and successful, then we'll get accreditation for that site, the Roosevelt site, and then we will seek further accreditation for our Lincoln and our Jefferson site as well. What accreditation does is it helps us market these programs that have, it's more structure, there's more core competencies, and sort of a common language that will be used in these programs from now on. And then also, it ties us to families who are receiving welfare, Minnesota Family Investment Program, and who who also access the child care subsidy. So some of them receive a kind of a tuition expense for their kids to go to these programs, so we would be leveraging those resources as well. And our rate for Kids World is actually cheaper than the county's rate for school age care. So, does that answer your question?
Yes, I
Okay,
did want you to explain it
perfect.
to the board.
Yep. Yep.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Any further questions? I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the Kids World rate increase. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries, thank you all. Next up, item 8B4, purchase of service contract renewals. This is with Nurstrand Nursing and Special Education Services and the Cannon River STEM Charter School and Discovery Charter School. Do you want to say anything? I'm assuming that these are simply renewals of services that we've been providing for
That's correct.
these schools for
Yep.
quite a few years. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve purchase of service contract renewals with Nurstrand, Cannon River STEM Charter School, and the Discovery Charter School. Any further discussion on these items? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries, thank you all.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, please.
I did think of something I would like to add regarding the finance committee, if I could.
Please do, yes.
We did briefly bring up the topic of the building construction,
Mhm.
just to see if finance committee members had any issues that they wanted to discuss. And my impression was that several members said that leasing was really usually a short-term option for school districts, and that it made sense not to be in leasing agreements going forward. That's the impression I got from a couple of the finance committee members, and they seemed in favor of the action that we're considering tonight.
Okay, thank you very much.
I don't want to speak for the committee as a whole, but I certainly I didn't hear any objections to what we're looking at tonight.
Okay, excellent, thank you very much. Okay, next up, budget items, no enrollment report this evening, no financial report this evening, gifts and donations. We have one donation this evening to take action on from, hopefully I'll get this right, Marilyn Gutzman. Two band instruments, a trumpet valued at $250 and a saxophone valued at $750. We thank Marilyn for that donation. I'm certain that the band program and the Faribault Public Schools will make excellent use of those two instruments, and they'll serve our students for many years. So we appreciate that greatly. And I'll entertain a motion to approve this gift at this time.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Can I just ask a question regarding
Please do.
band instruments? What is our situation? Are we still in need of band instruments if people are willing to donate them?
We are, but I would say that if people want to donate, they should get some feedback from either Clean Murdstorf or Pat Kunkel or even Chris Dibble at the high school to see what sort of band instruments that they need. And but yeah, we could always use the donations for those.
Any further questions or comments on this item? Okay, this brings us to other committee reports. There's no report from the Insurance Committee this evening, no report from the Wellness Committee, Community Ed, Anne Marie.
While we're on the theme of school age care, I just wanted to bring your attention to our new program that's going to be starting called McKinley Munchkins. And that will be school age care, well, not school age, but preschool age care for ages 3 through 5, and it'll happen at McKinley. And we're hoping to run it the school age care coordinators in the room, Amanda, so if you have any detailed questions, she's here to answer those questions. But the program will be Monday through Friday, and it will be from 7 to 5:30 for those families needing childcare. So I just wanted to make sure that you knew about that, and it's gonna be starting in September.
What is that?
Mr. Chair, how's the STEAM program running? You mean, how is it?
Great. It's running very smoothly. We're at capacity. The kids are happy. We've been receiving lots of positive feedback from both families and students and staff. So that's, I guess, not both, but all three. So it's been very successful.
What will the capacity of the childcare?
You know, that's a good question. I'll have Amanda come
Oh,
up here.
I didn't mean.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. I think we're wanting to start with 5, so maybe I can say this and she can tell me if I'm wrong. We wanna
It
start-
might be a good opportunity to introduce Amanda.
Why don't we introduce Amanda Cappies, the program coordinator?
Support.
Hi, I'm Amanda. I started in January as a school age care coordinator, overseeing Roosevelt, Jefferson, Lincoln, and then soon McKinley.
She's wonderful.
So you start with a capacity of 5?
Yes, yep, and we've hit that so we can start the program. And we're offering wraparound care, so we'll help those parents that want to send their child to McKinley for preschool but have a transportation issue. So they'll be able to avoid that and just keep the child right at McKinley.
Thank you. Okay, this brings us to other matters. Item 10A, approval of student handbooks for the Faribault High School, McKinley Early Childhood Center, the Faribault Area Learning Center, Kids World Parent Handbook, and the Cannon River Education Center. And all of those handbooks are in our board packets. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved?
Is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion on this item?
Yes, we can just point out, I think we did some on it last time, that the new bullying policy is in all the handbooks, and parents have access to that policy via the handbooks, and it's a good resource.
We also have administrators here if you have any questions about the handbooks or any of the changes that you have regarding the handbooks.
Are they both in electronic and hard copy?
They will be in electronic. I don't know if we've transferred those over to electronic copies or not. They will be, but they'll have access to it. We've had them on the web. Yep.
My question is, if people don't have computer access, they.
Oh,
they
yeah,
get
they'll have it in hard copy. That's correct.
Any further questions on this item? If memory serves me correctly, we have a motion and a second. All right, thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We have a revised 2013-2014 public school calendar to take action on this evening. Mr. Superintendent, would you like to tell us what's revised in this one?
We just included the snow days. We just need to make sure that after the snow days have been included in there, we approve the revised calendars with those adjustments.
Okay.
So what are the same as last year, or?
No,
This is
it's
for last year.
for last year and those snow days that we had to cancel school. We had to take those off the calendar and then readjust the calendar for the
Okay.
number of properties.
So this is sort of a final approval of the calendar that took place last year.
Correct.
That includes snow days that we obviously didn't schedule ahead of time.
I would move to approve the revised calendar.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion on this item? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you all. This brings us to item, this is item 10C, approve hiring of INS Group to provide preliminary design information for a district office and adult basic education building project. Mr. Superintendent, would you
Yeah.
like to take it from there?
You bet. I have created a PowerPoint with the help of some of the staff too, to try to summarize real briefly the rationale for looking at building a office space or an education space and an adult basic education space. And I'm just seeing if Drew has it up. There we go, good. So to start out with, and certainly ask questions as we go through this PowerPoint if you do have questions about it. It's basically a lot of the information that we've reviewed with the school board and the staff over the last couple of months. And I'm just going to read through this, so again, if you have questions, let me know. The reason why we're investigating this is that the public school districts, all public school districts have a responsibility to make sure taxpayer money is being spent appropriately and wisely. Saving tax dollars in the short term and eliminating debt in the long term is a responsible decision the board should consider on behalf of our community. Currently, the school district rents space for district office and cold storage, as well as adult basic education areas. The total cost for rent each year is about $190,000, and if you include inflation over the years, or an increase of 3% or whatever it might be, it could add up to more than that. That's the current amount. The dollar amount is a levy. It's a tax. It is not part of the operating levy, so I want to make sure that people understand that this has not anything to do with that operating levy that was passed last fall. It's a separate tax levy that all of you have approved every single year that we've had that option of doing that in the levy. The money collected from the specific levy is then paid directly to the owners of each of the different entities. So we pay the owner of the district office space the amount of tax dollars that we levy, and we do the same thing for the town square. A couple of advantages that we talked about at that last meeting to moving the district office and adult basic ed classrooms. We would eliminate tax dollars from the lease levy. The net would be around $110,000. Centrally located, creating better access for the community and more visibility for the district office, as well as adult basic ed. Meeting rooms for training staff and students. We've talked about a multi-purpose room. We've recently talked about an engineering room that we could construct for students. That includes a lot of technology, TV, robotics, a lot of different things that we've discussed in the past. One advantage of having it, if we do locate it at the high school, would be the adult basic education classes would be closer to South Central College. There would be more efficient use of space than there currently is right now. And then, of course, eliminate the lease payments after a certain amount of years, or actually the mortgage payments, whatever the payments are when you do the borrowing. Possible disadvantages, the down payment from the fund balance. We talked about the possibility of making a down payment from the general fund balance into this piece. That could be a disadvantage. It could actually also be an advantage because you can lower the amount of interest you'd pay on a loan if you borrow from a bank. The other disadvantage is it obligates the operating capital funds depending on the length of the time that you would borrow. If the board and the staff have been talking about a 15-year loan for this, so you would put some of the operating capital funds that would be obligated for that 15-year period of time. There'd certainly be a short-term disruption to staff too with some of the construction, depending on where the construction is, I guess, too. If it's standalone away from the school, then there'd probably be very little disruption for that. Some of the financial considerations. Again, to emphasize that taxes will decrease for this levy by about $110,000 initially, and then decrease again when the loan is paid off. No more paying rent for these two areas. Eventually, payments for building construction costs to be paid off in approximately 15 years. There are low interest rates as a result of being a tax-exempt entity, and there is no significant impact on the overall budget for doing this. Some considerations for the architect, and I see Brian is here, so if you do have any questions from ISG before the consideration for approval, you're certainly welcome to ask Brian some questions too. But we need to decide where the district office and adult basic areas would relocate. Obviously, if you take the lease off the books, that means that we have no place for our staff to go. So I need some place where our staff can be. And so we need to figure out a way to relocate that piece if the lease goes away. Same thing with our adult basic ed areas. We have classrooms right now. If we take the lease off, then we won't be able to use that building anymore, so we're gonna have to figure out a place to relocate them. So those will be challenges that the architect would have to consider. Need to do a thorough analysis of the finances to make sure it does make sense to do this, and again, we'll have the architects on board for this. And then also, we need to understand any issues that may come as a result of any new construction, addition, remodel that may present itself, and that would be, again, the job of the architect to look at those different pieces. And then, what's the purpose of doing this? Again, the possibility that the board has to take a look at to see if it's going to reduce school tax. Any kind of tax that's a reduction, I think, is an advantage to the community. In this case, it's specifically the lease levy. It is not any other levy. Again, I want to emphasize it's not coming out of the operating levy. It is a lease levy.
Mr. Superintendent, let me
yes.
just clarify for those who might be watching, the operating levy is the levy that we just voted on last November, for
Correct.
anybody who might be watching.
Yes.
That levy is unrelated to the lease levies that you're talking about that pay for the office space.
That's correct. Again, it could create some nice training and instructional opportunities for staff and students. The closer relationships with South Central College, we've been doing a great job, and particularly through our community education programs, of getting building a strong relationship with the college. Long-term savings for the district, and again, I just reemphasize that the public school districts need to have a responsibility. In fact, that's part of the lease levy law, that we have to make sure that we do all our finances before we can actually do a lease. It works the same way too. We want to make sure that if we're going to be building something, that it does make sense to eliminate the lease. So I also put in there what happens if the school board chooses not to do this. Taxpayers will continue to be assessed a levy. That will continue. In fact, we would have to make another decision after this year to lease, and normal leases right now that we've been negotiating have been 5-year leases. I'm assuming we'd probably be tied into another 5 years for the person that would be, or the company that would be renting that space. So you'd be tied in probably to another 5 years minimum before you can look at this again. Taxpayers will continue to pay the rent. That comes out of general fund money or operating capital, whatever you want to call it. It's all taxpayer money. It's not the same as a lease. It's a different fund. The lease comes into the form of the general fund, and then in turn you pay the landlords that dollar amount. District office will not be in a more central location. It'll still be out in an area. There will still be a lack of meeting spaces for the district to train both staff and students. Right now we really have one spot, and that is the district office. We can certainly use the PAC or the cafeterias or the gymnasium spaces, but a lot of times those spaces are occupied and they're a little bit tougher to use. And then also it would be a lost opportunity to situate the adult basic education and community education closer to South Central College, which a lot of folks in the community have expressed that they really want to build that relationship with South Central College. So that's a summary of what I have heard through the discussions of the school board and the staff over the last couple of months with regard to the consideration of building this project. So if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer those. And like I said, I've invited ISG here to discuss any questions that you may have as well.
Sure, Todd, let me just clarify something, because what you said earlier was different than my understanding, and I want to make sure that when I'm talking to people, I'm not misleading anybody. I want to be very clear about that. So earlier I was under the impression that the board didn't have any ability to take this to a vote of the community. And I guess I only base it on the fact that I've never heard of such an item coming before any school district. Having seen many votes, I haven't heard of such a thing happening. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it can't happen, just that I've never heard of it happening. So is that the case? Have we looked into that? Is this
Mhm.
something that we can in fact bring to the community?
You can, yeah. You can actually vote on just about, you have a discretion over
Okay.
just about everything that you
Okay.
want to bring to the community. Yeah, just like the
Alright.
city can do the same thing, even though they don't have to bring a vote. They can still bring a vote to the
Right.
taxpayers.
And I would still suggest that I've never seen a community do it, and many communities have built buildings then replacing lease levies. So I'm not suggesting that I think it's something we should do. In fact, I don't think it's something we should do. I think it's a waste of time to ask the community if they want to lower their own taxes. I suspect I know what that answer is. But I want to make sure that I'm not misleading anybody, so I appreciate the clarification on that.
Yep, and I do think that we have a little work to do still, and Brian can certainly talk about committees and involving some of the stakeholders with this process before final approval with the design and everything else, so.
Just want to follow up on Chair Engelbert's comment about bringing this to the voters, and I agree. I can't imagine that we would, we're charged with fiscal responsibility, and if we see a way of reducing taxpayers' burdens, I think we have an obligation to do that. Can you explain, Superintendent, why this does not have to come to the voters as opposed to an operating levy or a bond election?
You bet. You know what, I'm going to bring Colleen up. She's a little more concise than I am with this whole process, if you don't mind, and she can explain that.
That's fine, thank you.
Thanks.
Good evening. This would not need to come before the voters because we aren't asking the voters to approve a bond issue or an operating referendum. We are, as you indicated, we are not asking the voters to increase taxes in any fashion, so.
And I think that's the bottom line, Colleen,
Yes.
is that we're not asking to vote for an increase in tax in any way.
Correct.
Okay.
This would not be a tax increase, as you indicated, it would be a tax decrease, so we'd spend $6,000 or $7,000 to run an election to ask the voters to decrease taxes. That,
Great. Okay. Thank you, and I think that's an important clarification.
And then the other clarification I would want to make this evening is that the vote that we're taking at this moment on hiring ISG is not a vote to move forward with the project. There's two different steps that we're looking at here. This is a vote to seek the information that I think we feel like we need to make a decision. And I think, to my mind, just to explain my own vote here, this for me is about making sure that I have the information I need to make a decision about whether or not we move forward. Which essentially comes down to a cost. What will it cost us to replace this space? Is the value proposition here favoring us moving forward with the construction? And we won't know that until we have an architect really look at that in detail and give us solid numbers. The rough estimates certainly seem to indicate it's a possibility, but I don't want to commit the district to something until we have a better estimate. So the vote tonight for me is a vote to seek that information so that when we make a decision later on, we're making a decision with all the information in front of us.
And to that point, any numbers that we've discussed are not firm numbers or that have been discussed in previous work sessions. We have estimates that have been made on the building costs, but at this point, we do not have a number that we can give to the community
Right.
that's accurate and reflects the cost of the building.
The one number that we talked about at finance this morning would be the commitment for the architect.
Yes,
It'd be
absolutely.
$21,500 that the architect would utilize. And again, you can ask Brian what that would all entail. I mean, that gets them involved pretty intimately with the whole process so that you guys can come to a decision whether or not you want to continue the project or not continue the project.
Should we have him step up at this time, or are we ready for that?
Well, actually, I think it's a good idea. Brian, would you mind coming forward and saying a few words about how you envision the process moving forward in the next month or two?
Yeah, thanks for having us here tonight. Really, the next step in this process is we've really looked at things from a very high level to this point and used, for budgets, similar type projects, but the next phase is to get into the specifics where we're gonna get in meetings with both administration and staff to talk about the specific needs of the space so that we can match up the design of this new facility with the needs of the district. And that flushes out all the details so that the budgets can start getting tightened up. And we can come back to you and say, to accomplish the needs of this project, we're talking about 24,200 square feet, or, you know, whatever that number is, we know where the walls are, we know where the doors are. We've worked with Kevin and from the infrastructure of the facility, what all those needs will be, and we can pair those up with, costs. So we have a higher level of confidence in the, what the overall cost will be. So that's what this next phase gets you to.
Thank you, Brian, appreciate that. Any questions for Brian while he's up here?
So can we hold board meetings in this new building?
I think that's one of the goals.
And do you have a time frame or an idea of what you're looking at?
Yeah, we've taken a preliminary look at the schedule, and I think your timing in engaging us is, excellent. One of the things you wanna be careful, don't rush the planning process, because things get overlooked. I think given, the timeframe, in general, if construction were to start, if that could happen about 1 year from right now, that would allow the facility to get constructed in a reasonable timeframe. Again, that translates to spending your dollars wisely. And the facility be ready for occupancy at the same time your current leases are expiring. So in essence, we take the time from now until, this fall to do this pre-planning and really get our arms around what the overall needs of the facility will be.
Any other questions for Brian? All right, thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion to approve in a second, and then we can have more discussions if we need, but perhaps it's time for a motion. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the INS group, approve the hiring of the INS group to provide preliminary design information for the district office adult basic education building project.
And just as a point of clarification, is it ISG or INS? Are you
It's
go?
INS group is the official name.
It is, okay, sorry.
INS group.
Yep.
So moved.
The motion, is there a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion on this item?
Again, I'll state that I still think this should be brought to the voters. We have to be fully transparent. We are spending taxpayers' money. We're still going through if it's gonna increase taxes or not. I don't think it will be, but depends on what the, final figures are. Again, we just, wanna have input, educate the public. I think we voted on last time at least one public meeting, I believe. We voted on that, and I think we should increase that a little bit, but at least we'll have one meeting. So I will, at this time, another amendment that it will be, I'd like to add it on to the November election.
Is there a second to this amendment? Hearing none, the motion to amend the original motion fails. And I would just clarify a few things. I agree completely that transparency is key here. I think two things are happening right now. We're collecting information so that we can be as transparent. I think this is why I'm committed to having as many public meetings as we need to have to do this. I think I'm quite certain that Todd or I would be willing to go and speak with any groups who wanted to hear us. We've done that before for various things, and I'm certain we can do that. So I don't think the issue is about transparency, because I think that can be accomplished without taking it to the public for a vote and spending all the time and energy to do that. I also think, to clarify, you suggested that we're not certain yet whether or not taxes would go up or down. I don't think that's a question. I think taxes will go down. I think the cost of the project is up in the air, and we need to know that, but I don't think anybody's suggesting that we're going to raise taxes for this. So I think that's not on the table. I think the only way we could increase taxes is probably if we decided to lease more space, which is not what we're discussing here. So I don't think that's still a question. I think that we know that taxes will at least stay the same, but almost certainly go down.
I think this is a good expenditure. Our last work session, we had enough questions about adequacy of facilities, locations, what kinds of facilities we needed and so forth, that we realized we needed to have more information from our architect, and that involves doing just what we're doing now, is designating an architect and spending some money up front to get the information we need. Furthermore, I think this is going to be the board that's going to make the decision, because there's a lot of information has to be gathered to make the right decision, and a board or committee who is going to spend that time, and when it's all done, they're going to make the decision based on a lot of information. And I think to throw it out to the public makes it a political football that can get kicked around, and people with little bits of dissension could hinder our moving forward on this, and then in the end, it'll end up costing taxpayers money because of misinformation that's been put out to the public.
I'd like to just add to Jason's comment earlier, and I think it was part of our discussion at the work session, that we feel a real responsibility to communicate with the public. This seems, at least so far, to be an opportunity where we may be able to lower our community's taxes. It is a complex issue, and thus the motion in front of us now to gather further information. I'd just like to go on record as that I support any effort that we can make. Public meetings, getting articles in the newspaper on FCTV or whatever else that we might be able to do to communicate to the public what it is this project may come to represent should we get to that point. But right now we're gathering that information, and I too believe that it is the board's responsibility to educate itself, and those we've been taking steps, including one under consideration tonight, to be educated to make a decision about this project at some point down the road. But we'll communicate every avenue we can with our public, and the board make the most responsible decision that it can make.
Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, Mr. Clerk, would you please do a roll call?
Mr. Chairman, would you read the motion?
The motion is to approve the hiring of the INS Group, ISG, to provide preliminary design information for the District Office Adult Basic Education Building Project.
Just to clarify, did you ask for a second on the amendment?
Yes.
And there was not?
There was not a second
Thank
to
you,
the amendment.
thank you.
For the vote, I will vote aye. Tom Casper,
Aye.
Yvette Marthaler,
Aye.
Richard Olson,
Aye.
Jerry Robichaud,
Aye.
and Chairman Ingrid.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, 6-0 in favor.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Chair, is
Yes,
that,
please.
can we put a figure of not to exceed?
For what? I'm sorry, I'm not.
The design, not to exceed.
21,500.
There's a number that's already agreed around, that's a firm number in the agreement,
Okay,
so I think that's part of the agreement.
Yep, that'll be
Okay.
part of it.
that's it.
All right. Okay, this brings us to item 10D, approve the application for dissolution of cooperative sponsorship for the 2014-2015 boys hockey. My understanding as I look through this is that they're wanting to add the Discovery School to the co-op. And the way that this works is first you need to dissolve the first co-op and then reapprove a new co-op. So this is the dissolution of the previous co-op, and then the next motion would be to approve the new co-op that includes the Discovery School. So I will entertain a motion to dissolve the current cooperative sponsorship.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next on the agenda is item 10E, which is to approve the application for cooperative sponsorship for 2014-2015 boys hockey, which includes all the same schools, but additionally the Discovery School.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Items 10F, G, H, and I were removed from the agenda, although I'm just guessing Jennifer might have walked into the room. Is that right?
That's a good guess.
Could we perhaps take this moment to do an introduction, Mr. Superintendent?
She probably went to the middle school.
She did. Yeah. Actually, Jennifer and I were at the legal conference this morning, or actually all day today. So I'd like to introduce the new elementary principal for Jefferson School, and that is Jennifer Molitor. And Jennifer joins us. She comes from Farmington, and she is already on board, and she's putting some hours in to help us out already. So welcome, Jennifer.
Excellent.
Not the middle school.
No, did I say middle school? Jefferson Elementary School.
Nice to meet you, Jen. Would you like to come up to the microphone real quick? You don't have to begin with the apology, just.
No, I did go to the middle school, but I apologize for being late.
You were right on time, actually.
Just got here, this is perfect.
Well, thank you. I am very excited to be here in Faribault and am looking forward to some wonderful years here. I've heard wonderful things about the school district and just looking forward to a great year this year. So thank you so much for all your hospitality and welcoming here.
Thank you, Jennifer. And welcome to Faribault Public Schools, and look out for Sarah next year.
Oh, wait a second.
Wow.
Hope she's
Is that inappropriate? All right.
It's a matter of public record now, it's too late.
I didn't use the last name. You don't know who I'm talking about. All right. Next up, item 10J. Consider scheduling a special school board meeting for Friday, August 15th. Time to be determined to canvass return of votes of the school district primary election. We could also set a time at this time, perhaps, for that Friday meeting. The election would take place on Tuesday, is that correct? Do we need to wait a certain amount of time? Is that what?
According to the timeline that I received from the attorneys, it has to be done on Friday, the 15th.
So it has to be done on that Friday, okay.
I don't know if it'll matter, I will not be there, but if you have a quorum, otherwise, sounds good.
I think, you know what, it just occurred to me, I'm not sure. It's usually a simple process, but I do need to look at my calendar.
What's the date?
August 15th.
It's Friday.
Yeah, I will be here. So, oh, I'm looking for
What time?
We haven't set a time. Would we like to suggest a time? Would anybody like to do a morning meeting and have it?
6 a.m.
Maybe I'd like to suggest a different time.
Actually, I've got a workshop that starts at 8:30 a.m. I can certainly be a little bit late.
It's just
but-
canvassing the
Yeah,
primary
it's just
results.
canvassing.
Is that workshop here?
No,
Or
it's
do
in
you need to
Minneapolis.
Travel for that, okay.
Yep.
Um,
But if you want, I mean, I don't even have to be here for that
I
either.
guess you don't need to be at the
No,
canvassing. It's
I'm not
pretty
voting.
straightforward, I
So-
Could I suggest 7:30 that morning? Is that an appropriate time? It's just a suggestion that I like better than 6.
I like 7:30 in the morning.
Okay. So I will entertain a motion to approve this special school board meeting for Friday, August 15th at 7:30 a.m. To canvass returns of votes
At the district office.
at the district office from the school district primary election. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now, just give me a minute, I want to make note of that. All right, thank you all. Up next is item 11, other items of information. No student representative is present this evening, so we'll move on to any items of information from school board members.
I'd like to mention the passing of Mr. Dennis Dinovic, a longtime elementary principal here in Faribault. And He was a fine educator, a fine man, and he will be missed.
Thank you, Tom. Any other items of information from school board members? Hearing none, Mr. Superintendent.
Just a couple of things. Was able to attend a robotics meeting with the new robotics coach or advisor, and that's Steve Ulrich. And he is getting ready to bring not a proposal, but bring some ideas to the school in the form of recruiting students. One of the ideas is to bring the Owatonna robotics into the cafeteria so the kids can see that. And I know that Kenyon also has an active robotics program that they could bring over so the kids can see it and get an idea of what that's all about. And then I know that Lyle's doing some things with surveys to see what the interest is of the students as well. But we plan on getting that robotics rolling. We also had Gordy Adamic, and we also had, I'm trying to think, Anne-Marie Leland was there, and Rod Gramsey was there, and a number of other folks that were at that meeting too to discuss robotics. We also talked about looking at our curriculum to see how we can integrate that into our actual high school curriculum as a option for kids to take during the school year, and we also talked a little bit about a room, an engineering type of a room too, that could also accommodate that sort of thing, which we don't have at this point, but we could do something with the project possibly with that. We are working on our workshops for our principals. There are a lot of changes for the principals, particularly with the evaluation process that we have to talk to them about, the bullying laws, and a lot of other trainings that we're going to be introducing to them that first week of August when they come back. And we're also working on the teacher workshop too that we're getting rolling. That's coming right around the corner too. That's the last week of August, and teachers will be back. So it's coming fast. So summer's almost over.
When is the breakfast?
The breakfast is that Monday. Do you have the date on that?
The
25th, August 25th. Yeah, that breakfast. You're all invited to come to that. We'd love to have you. And the last thing is, I was at a legal update that was put on by Kennedy Graven up in Minneapolis. It was a good workshop. I actually had Jennifer Molitor is up there with me, and Mike Mayock, the middle school principal, was there as well. And there are a lot of different things with special education laws, open meeting laws, and data privacy, and a lot of good information. That's good to have a refresher. They also talked about bowling for about an hour and a half too, and it was, we kept awake. It was good. So all good, valuable information. So that's all I have.
All right, thank you very much, Tom. Brings us to item 12, dates to remember. August 11th at 5:30 p.m. will be a work session of the school board at the district office. August 12th at 4:30 p.m. Will be a policy meeting at the district office. August 15th.
18.
No. August 15th at 7:30 a.m.
Oh.
And will be the canvassing meeting for the school board to canvass the results of the primary election. August 18th at 7:30 a.m. Will be the finance meeting in the district office. And August 25th at 6:30 p.m. Will be the regular board meeting here in City Hall Council Chambers. All right. With that, then, we will take a few minute recess before we re-adjourn in closed session.
You actually have to, because I've been to the open meeting law, you actually have to have a motion to go into closed session.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We have a motion, motion carries, and we will now adjourn into closed session. We'll take a couple